Hello and welcome to Access Asia. I'm Delon D'Souza. Coming up, India's Prime Minister wraps up a high-stakes visit to Israel, which boosted defense ties. And while Narendra Modi got the red carpet treatment, his public embrace of Benjamin Netanyahu raised eyebrows at home. South Korea's birth rate rises for the second straight year. We'll find out what's causing the shift in the country with the world's lowest fertility rate. And South Korean director Park Chan-wook set to preside over the main competition jury at the upcoming Cannes Film Festival in May. Now, Narendra Modi has wrapped up a two-day visit to Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu leaving no stone unturned to woo his Indian counterpart. The two sides, who were extremely chummy, coming together to partner in innovation, security, and a shared strategic vision. Israel and India are also working on a free trade agreement and jointly plan on producing and transferring technology in defense. At home, however, the opposition Congress Party condemned Modi's visit, given Netanyahu's handling of the war in Gaza. For more on this, we can bring in Zara Farouk, analyst at the New Lines Institute for Strategy and Policy in Washington. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. What do you make of the timing of Modi's visit to Israel, which comes as the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu remains very isolated on the world stage?
I think optically, this visit demonstrates that Israel retains high-level partners despite criticism. We're looking at, ironically, India was one amongst 100 countries, UN member state countries, that condemned Israel for its ongoing annexation in the West Bank. The ceasefire has been broken in Gaza. And for India, this reinforces the image of strategic consistency, and that is that it does not recalibrate its partnerships based solely on international pressure. And this sort of ties back to its multi-alignment approach, which India is known for in its foreign policy posture, particularly in the Middle East.
Zara, what do you make of this geostrategic shift for India, and what do both countries stand to gain from this reinforced partnership?
India and Israel have been strengthening their ties, particularly since Modi's rise to power come 2014. He is the only standing Indian prime minister who has visited Israel, and this is his second visit since 2017. So this visit is both timely and symbolic, and the outcome of his two-day visit to Israel is reflective of that. Both countries stand to gain in four key areas, namely security, technology, trade, and diplomacy.
Now, India, like Israel, isn't a member of the ICC, so Netanyahu's arrest warrant means virtually nothing to New Delhi. But the devastation of Gaza has frustrated India's partners in the region, if we think of the UAE, for instance. So how does Modi not alienate historically close allies like Abu Dhabi when he publicly embraces Netanyahu?
I think that maybe if we take it back historically, India is one of the founding members of the non-alignment movement. Its foreign policy posture in the Middle East has translated from non-alignment to multi-alignment, and it is known for its balancing act foreign policy and its de-hyphenation policy, which Modi pioneered in 2014, which essentially separated the Israel and Palestine issue as two separate states, two separate issues not related to each other, and enabled India to maintain its strategic autonomy. It is navigating a delicate balance, specifically with its partners in the Gulf and the Middle East more broadly. Historically, India has been a supporter of the Palestinian cause, and it continues.
So has he turned his back away from the Palestinian cause?
India is signaling to the United States and Israel that they're allied with them and they are willing. It doesn't necessarily indicate abandonment of this traditional position, but it reflects India's broader strategy of multi-alignment, which is maintaining relationships across competing blocs.
In Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu has been accused of chipping away at the country's democratic institutions. Same thing for India's prime minister. If we think of the Pegasus scandal back in 2021, when it was revealed the government spied on members of the opposition, high-profile journalists in India, Israeli tech played a role. How much of Modi's visit has to do with securing this cutting-edge technology?
I think that this visit has a very significant impact and influence on defense and technology. As you As you see, there's a great deal of emphasis on purchase of surveillance and strike technology, most specifically. Israel was extremely beneficial to India during the conflict with Pakistan in May of 2025. And I think that this conflict revealed the fractures and perhaps the blind spots that India became acutely aware of and has leveraged its partnership and its relationship with Israel to bolster its ability to defend itself in the eventuality that a conflict like this would arise again.
Zara, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Zara Farouk there. Now, after nearly a decade of decline, South Korea's birth rate has ticked up for the second year in a row. This offers a glimmer of hope in a country that has long warned about a demographic crisis. According to new government data, the fertility rate reached 0.80 in 2025, still far below replacement level, but higher than previous years. So what's behind this change, and can it last? To answer that, we can bring in Charlotte Lamb to unpack the numbers. Charlotte, good to see you. How significant is this uptick, and is it just a blip?
Well, it's a small step, but it is an important one because for years we know Seoul has been warning that the falling birth rates mean a shrinking workforce and growing pressure on pensions and healthcare as the population ages. But births have risen for a second straight year in 2025, and we have some numbers that we can bring in to show you. So South Korea's total fertility rate, which is calculated by the average number of babies a woman is expected to have during her reproductive life, stood at 0.80 in 2025. That's up from 0.75 in 2024. And that might not seem like much, but just 2 years ago, it recorded 0.72, which is the world's lowest record.
And we know that this is something that Seoul has long been worried about. So what is driving this rebound? And is it just government incentives, or is this a broader cultural shift?
Well, it is a mix, but for now, it does seem like the driving factor is timing. Let's hear from the officials.
There's an increase in marriages. A significant portion that had been postponed due to COVID-19 have accumulated. These marriages have now happened and increased for 8 consecutive months from August 2022. And then we saw another increase from April 2024 to December last year. So the biggest part is that marriages are increasing a lot accumulatively.
So Delano, marriage there is a big factor, and that's up by 8% in 2025 after a record year the year before. Usually what follows that 1 or 2 years happens to be babies. But demographers are also saying that much of the rebound reflects what they call an echo boomer effect. So around 3.6 million children were born in the early 1990s when births briefly rose after the government ended its family planning policy. That generation is now in their early 30s, which is typically when South Koreans are having babies. Now you pair that with government initiatives. South Korea has spent hundreds of billions of dollars over 2 decades on pro-natal measures, plus childcare subsidies and housing support. Plus there's a general consensus that Korean families, they say they feel more ready to start and having more babies now since the pandemic has ended. But there is high housing costs, and there's expensive education and a demanding work culture, which experts warn are still main barriers, which is why they are cautiously optimistic here.
Now, Charlotte, if we look at the region, Japan too has falling birth rates. What lessons can other countries learn from Seoul?
So this is another country where natality is a major concern. Japan is the world's 4th largest economy. And on Thursday, it announced that for a 10th straight year in a row, it has a birth decline. This is more than over 700,000 births in 2025. That's down another 2%. Its fertility rate remains one of the lowest in the world, and the population decline, rather, is speeding up. So like South Korea, Japan has also introduced these initiatives to try and encourage families. They've increased financial support for parents, and they've even created a government-backed app where singles have to declare with documentation their single status, and it's also hoped that they will sign a letter saying they're willing to get married, and potentially that could lead to more families, but so far the impact has been limited. Immigration could help offset these challenges, but as we know, Japan has just re-elected its right-wing prime minister who has vowed to tighten migration. So the contrast is that South Korea seems to have these policies to be driving short-term boosts, while Japan's challenge is this aging society, which is really entrenched in their culture. Either way, both countries seem to have a long road ahead.
Indeed. Thank you very much for that, Charlotte. Charlotte Lamb there. Now, South Korean director Park Chan-wook has been named president of the jury for the 79th Cannes Film Festival, which gets underway in May. It's the first time a Korean filmmaker will preside over the main competition jury. Park Chan-wook is hugely successful and is no stranger to the festival. He's known for his films about obsession, revenge, desire. They're often dark, shocking, and always visually stunning.
Festival organisers are calling it a first for Korean cinema. A filmmaker known for his attention to class struggle, presiding over the jury for one of the world's most glamorous events. Park Chan-wook, the acclaimed director, screenwriter and producer, has been named president of this year's Cannes Film Festival. Responding to the appointment, he said that in this age of hatred and division, he believed that the simple act of coming together in a movie theatre to watch a film created a sense of solidarity. The soft-spoken filmmaker and known literature lover has helped define Korean noir, a genre of bloody crimes and moral revenge, told through striking and meticulous imagery. His 2003 thriller Old Boy propelled him into the international spotlight, winning the Grand Prix at Cannes the following year, the start of a long relationship with the festival. Nearly every film he's brought to the competition has taken home a prize, including the erotic psychological drama The Handmaiden in 2016. His romantic thriller Decision to Leave earned him the Best Director award in 2022.
I hope the momentum and energy we feel tonight can be maintained and that Korean cinema can rise and open up to the world.
Park's latest work, No Other Choice, is adapted from the 1997 novel The Axe. Nominated for 3 Golden Globes, it follows an unemployed man who decides to kill his potential competitors to land a job.
나는 내 식구들 입에 밥을 넣어주기 위해 무슨 짓이든 한다.
The director takes on the jury presidency at a time when South Korean culture is enjoying global recognition, from cinema to the breakout success of television series like Squid Game and the worldwide rise of K-pop.
That's it for this edition of Access Asia. From all of us on the team, thank you very much for watching.